community, and welcome to the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Tim.
And together we're going to walk through Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time book series. How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing good. It's been a pretty good day. How about you?
I am also doing well. Before we get started, we just want to remind you that this is a reread. We assume that you've read the whole series, so there will be spoilers. You have been warned. All right, Tim, what are we going to be doing in today's episode?
Today, we're going to be discussing chapters 48 and 49 of The Eye of the World, where our heroes try to survive the Blight. Let's start with chapter 48, which is called The Blight.
Fitting.
And the icon is a twisted, spooky tree.
Here's a quick summary of chapter 48 to act as a reminder for those of you who are not reading along with us. Ingtar and 100 lances escort our party to the border, and Ingtar is not happy about it. Because of this side trip, he will miss out on the fighting at Tarwin's Gap, but he has been commanded to go to the border and no farther, so he won't be fighting in the Blight either. That morning, the people of Faldara exited the keep to try to find refuge in the capital city, while the soldiers rode toward the Gap. After a hasty goodbye, Ingtar and his lancers rode hard to join the soldiers. As our group rides north into the Blight, the weather warms up, but Nynaeve says that it feels wrong. The further they ride, the warmer and stickier the air becomes, until they are all sweating and stripping their cloaks and coats off. The thick air makes it hard to breathe. Rand reaches out to inspect a branch as they pass, but stops because it looks diseased, and Lan reminds him that they were told not to touch anything, because everything around them could kill them. As they ride on, the corruption of the Blight becomes more apparent, and the more disgusting their surroundings get. The stench of decay is thick, and the air tastes rotted. Matt is the first to stick up, but they all look ready to join him, even Moraine. Loyal is furious that even the Dark One would do such a thing to trees. Somehow, Perrin's new wolfy powers give him some resistance to the effects of the Blight, and he and Lan are the only ones who seem able to handle it. They will not be able to make their journey in one day, and it is not safe to travel the Blight at night, so they camp near the broken remnants of Seven Towers. Moraine sets a light bending border around the campsite, and the boys are momentarily dumbfounded when they turn from the horses and everyone has disappeared. Egwene excitedly tells them that Moraine said she can handle enough of the power that she could probably do it too when she's properly trained. Nynaeve announces that she might accompany Egwene to Tar Valon when she goes to provide a friendly face and advice from someone other than Aes Sedai. Egwene tries to get everyone to say that they will go to Tar Valon so that they can all be together, and asks Rand if he will be her warder. Rand tells her that he'd like that, even though he has Min's voice in his head, telling him of the viewings that they are not meant for each other. They all go to bed, but Rand can't sleep because of the heat. He notices that Lan and Nynaeve are also awake. She brings Lan tea, and Rand overhears their private conversation. Nynaeve makes her interest known, and though Lan is just as into her, he feels he has nothing to offer her. And then there's that pesky suicide mission thing. The chapter ends with him leaving her to wallow in his rejection.
I'm not sure if this is unique to the Wheel of Time or not, but the towers that guard the borders have big mirrors on the top to flash warning messages to other towers, and then pass the word of coming invasion or other dangers that are coming. The signal towers are not unique themselves, as we see them in a number of other stories.
Yeah.
But in other stories, it's usually just a massive signal fire that simply says the enemy's coming. So the thing about these mirrors is by deploying a mirror, you can flash bursts of light that can be translated into actual messages like a Morse code. Mm-hmm. Also, the message can be sent day or night as long as you either have sun or fire.
Right.
Not very important to the story, but it's something I haven't seen in other fantasy stories, and I thought it was kind of cool to mention.
Yeah, I think the mirror thing might be different, so that's cool. I love that when Nynaeve asks Ingtar if he's so eager to fight the Trollocs, he's completely unable to compute the question. He tells her, "It's what I do. It's why I am." And he can't even fathom another way.
On the one hand, the simple acceptance of his mission and purpose in life to fight the forces of the Dark One is kind of beautiful. On the other hand, we will see later that it leads to Ingtar making really bad decisions.
Yeah.
Dedication is a funny thing, and when it leads you down the wrong path, it can be hard to see how wrong you are until it's too late.
Yeah. As a farewell, Ingtar says to Lan, "Peace favor your sword." And then the book says, "What a strange thing to say," Egwene said. "Why do they use it like that? Peace." "When you've never known a thing except a dream," Lan replied, heeling Mandarb forward, "it becomes more than a talisman." So they use the word peace in the same way that the rest of Randland uses the word light, which is sort of as like a blessing and a prayer.
Yeah.
For the Shanarians, who have never known any kind of peace, it is as esoteric and intangible as the creator himself.
Right. Kind of weird.
Yeah. As the heat starts to affect them, the book mentions that Egwene and Nynaeve are riding slumped over as if they had wilted. And I totally feel their pain. I do not do well in the heat, especially balmy, swampy heat.
No.
I lived in the South for 6 years, and the hot, sticky summers almost did me in.
Oh, yeah.
I also would wilt like the girls do here. We'd say that I would slowly collapse like a flan in a cupboard. People talk about how California has dry heat, so even though the temperature is high, it doesn't feel so bad. And I think that there's a lot of truth to that. The air in the Blight is heavy and oppressive, and it's hard to breathe.
Yeah.
That's not the dark one. That's just August in North Carolina.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that hot, wet heat, I can't handle it.
Yeah. Moraine makes a comment about how the Dark One's powers are weakest at noon in the middle of the day. Mm-hmm. I can't remember any other references to the Dark One's power having more sway at night versus day anywhere else in the series. Like, maybe it's just here in the Blight that happens. What do you think?
I also don't remember a reference to time as far as like when the Dark One's power is stronger. So it could just be a book one thing because the magic in the series wasn't firmed up yet in this first book. And I mean, maybe it is just because it's the Blight. And the Blight is so close to where the Dark One is. But yeah, I agree with you that this is an oddity. So Perrin is able to resist the effects of the Blight almost as well as Lan and Moraine are, which kind of makes no sense.
Okay.
His wolfy powers are still undefined in this book and are a little inconsistent. You know, like we just said, the magic is... It doesn't quite have solid rules. And I think Jordan dialed it back a little in later books because this seems kind of amped up for his wolfy powers. Is it
his wolfy powers or the fact that he's worked in a forge for so long?
I mean, I think that he is as affected by the weather as everyone else is later in the series.
Good point.
So I really think with all of the references to his weird moods and the look in his eye that Matt and Rand have been making since they reunited in Camelin, it's implied that it's his new wolfy power that's supposed to be giving him this sudden ability.
Okay.
Which is fine, except that it's not present in future books.
Right.
Like, being able to have, like, an extra layer of resistance to the environment. It's just here. It never happens again.
True. Okay.
In fact, I even think that he comments, like, once he's saddled with Aes Sedai when he's traveling, I think he even comments on how it doesn't seem to affect them while he's, like, shivering or sweating or whatever it is.
That's right.
So I don't know. I think this is one of those book one inconsistencies because it doesn't make sense. Like, why would being a wolf help with this?
I hear what you're saying. I had never thought of it that way, but I just assumed it's because he worked in a forge. But right now you pointed out it doesn't make as much sense as I thought it did before. Moraine's trick with the barrier that kind of hides them is really cool.
Yeah, it is.
When the boys get taken off guard and Lan mutters, "sheep herders," it's understandable that they freak out. They suddenly appear alone in this nightmare of a landscape, and the camp has disappeared.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of funny.
Yeah.
They still are not used to being with an Aes Sedai.
I don't think they ever get used to it.
True. Egwene is so excited about being able to channel. Yeah. And I really can't fault her for it. But after Nynaeve announces that she will join Egwene at the tower, Egwene goes a little bit over-optimistic, thinking that they'll all go to Tar Valon.
Yeah.
What are the boys going to do at the tower? Like, I get that she wants them to stay together. They've been together since most of their entire lives. It seems just a little childish or naive for Egwene. And she's proven in this book that she's more in touch with reality than that. What do you think? Am I being too much of an old man here?
I do agree that it's really naive for Egwene to be like, yes, let's all go to Tar Valon together, and Rand, you could be my warder. But I think it's just because it's the first book, and they are very young, you know? Like, I think they've approached each other in a very immature way the entire book.
That is true.
Just because they are very young and very inexperienced. And part of it, we've already talked about how Robert Jordan wasn't great at writing young women for the first couple of books. And I think that's part of it, too, is he doesn't fully understand Egwene yet.
Got it.
So he's like, oh, well, she's a young girl and she's excited, so of course she's going to want that. And although that might make sense for a different character, it doesn't really make sense for who Egwene is. But I don't know. I guess, it works for me. It's very cute and very naive, and it's like, oh, sweetie, yeah, that's not going to happen. But I think it works. It's just, I don't know.
Okay.
It makes sense that you question it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yay, it makes sense.
So, I want to read the conversation between Lan and Nynaeve, because I hate it, but I also kind of love it.
Yeah.
And it's rare for us to get to witness such an honest moment between them, because most of their private moments are done off screen, so to speak, throughout the series. So indulge me, because I'm just going to read it.
All right.
I should have known you would be a king, she said quietly. Her eyes were steady on the warder's face, but her voice trembled slightly. Lan looked back at her just as intently. It seemed to Rand that the warder's face actually softened. I'm not a king, Nynaeve, just a man. A man without as much to his name as even the meanest farmer's croft. Nynaeve's voice steadied. Some women don't ask for land or gold, just the man. And the man who would ask her to accept so little would not be worthy of her. You are a remarkable woman, as beautiful as the sunrise, as fierce as a warrior. You are a lioness, Wisdom. A wisdom seldom marries. She paused to take a deep breath as if steeling herself. But if I go to Tar Valon, it may be that I will be something other than a wisdom. Aes Sedai marry as seldom as wisdoms. Few men can live with so much power in a wife, dimming them by her radiance whether she wishes to or not. Some men are strong enough. I know one such. If there could have been any doubt, her look left none as to whom she meant. All I have is a sword and a war I cannot win, but can never stop fighting. I've told you I care nothing for that. Light, you've made me say more than is proper already. Will you shame me to the point of asking you? I will never shame you. The gentle tone, like a caress, sounded odd to Rand's ears in the warder's voice, but it made Nynaeve's eyes brighten. I will hate the man you choose because he is not me, and love him if he makes you smile. No woman deserves the sure knowledge of widow's black as her bride price, you least of all. He set the untouched cup on the ground and rose. I must check the horses. Nynaeve remained there, kneeling after he had gone. Sleep or no, Rand closed his eyes. He did not think the wisdom would like it if he watched her cry.
It's
so good. Oh my God, it's so
good.
I hate it, but it's so good.
it's just heartbreaking and frustrating all at the same time. Like, so there's this thing men do where we put women on a pedestal and talk about how unworthy we are to be with them, especially in stories like this.
Yeah.
And while I respect Lan's desire not to put Nynaeve through the pain of possibly watching him die in his unwinnable war, by declaring himself unworthy of her, he's robbed her of the ability to choose that for herself.
Right.
There is no discussion. He just unilaterally decides that he knows best and moves on that conviction.
Right, yeah.
And this is one of the only times we ever see our girl Nynaeve cry.
Yeah.
I get that his intentions were in the right place, and it was totally in keeping with his character to make this decision.
True.
But doesn't mean I have to like it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You know, it's like he doesn't have a discussion with her. He makes the choice for them both, and that sucks. Yeah. Also, he's dumb. Because, I mean, again, we've talked about, like, it makes sense that he has these issues, this giant chip on his shoulder. You know, he has this obligation to his dead parents and his dead people.
Yep.
You know, he feels like it's his duty to go die in the Blight. And it's not his fault that he has these issues. He was raised by soldiers. Like, it was a whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, Lan is not a young man. You know, like, at this point, Lan is like, what, 50, 60? Like, he's old. Because he was already a full-grown adult in his 20s or 30s when Moraine found him.
Right.
And that was 20 years ago.
True.
So I want to say he's like 50.
At the youngest, he's in his late 40s. The very youngest.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's like 50, though. And it's like, all right, Lan, you've been around the block a few times. Figure your shit out. Like, this is a young man's dilemma. Before they've grown up and figured out life and realized that that's just stupid. You know? And it's like, Lan, it's time for you to know better. You know? Like, we've given you some time to work out your issues, and now it's time for you to be better. You know?
Yeah.
It makes sense with his character. I'm not saying it doesn't. I think it is very good writing, but I think that it's stupid. Like, Lan is being dumb.
I'm with you.
I mean, I know it works out in the end, so it's fine.
It's fine.
But,
it's fine.
I don't know. It's good writing, though. It's really good writing.
And that brings us to the end of Chapter 48. Before we get to Chapter 49, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Today's episode of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru is brought to you by worms. Big, fat, juicy ones, eensy, wincy, squincy ones. See how they wiggle and squirm?
Teresa?
Yeah?
Those are the wrong kind of worms.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay, how about Pink Floyd? Sitting in a bunker here behind my wall, waiting for the worms to come. In perfect isolation, here behind my wall, waiting for the worms to come. Better?
No, not really.
Okay, fine. Then how about you write the sponsor spot?
On second thought, I like Pink Floyd.
I thought so.
Moving on, Chapter 49 is called The Dark One Stirs, and the icon is the same twisted, spooky tree from the previous chapter.
It's a tense morning the next day, but the group quickly forgets about their personal problems as they ride into the Blight proper. The level of corruption and decay gets even worse, squelching and bursting under hooves. As they hurry toward the high passes where Moraine last found the Green Man, they are set upon by deformed creatures, and the Blight itself rose up against them. Even the trees attack. The group manages to beat it back with arrows and axe, sword and fire. Lan takes Mandarb into the trees several times to kill off hidden foes, each time coming back more hurt and bloodied and needing Moraine's healing. Rand is certain that they are about to be overwhelmed when a fluting cry sounds from behind them, and all the dark creatures scatter. Lan says that worms are after them, which is worse than it sounds. These worms can kill a Fade, and there is an entire pack heading their way. Their only chance is to ride hard for the high passes, because the worms won't follow. They fear what lives in the high passes. They gallop toward the mountains, but the worms are getting closer, and Lan tells them that they aren't going to make it. Rand starts to freak out. He seeks the flame in the void, but it eludes him. He frantically begs the light to help him, and suddenly the land changes. They have been magically transported to the Greenman's place, a lush garden that is protected from the corruption of the blight. A giant man-shaped creature made of vines and leaves emerges. He has a large scar running up his cheek and temple and across the top of his head. There, the vines were brown and withered. The Green Man greets Loyal as little brother, telling him that it is good to see him and that they will sing tree songs together. He greets Perrin as a wolf brother and asks if the old times come again. He confuses Rand by calling him a child of the dragon. When Rand says that he doesn't know what that means, the Green Man touches his scar and says that his memories are torn and often fleeting, but welcomes them just the same. He is especially surprised to see Moraine again because the place was made so that no one could find it twice. Moraine says that it is great need that made it possible. They are there for the eye of the world. The Green Man is sad to hear it, but knows that the Dark One stirs. The chapter ends when he agrees to lead them to the eye.
Say what you will about Egwene, but she has Nynaeve's back. She manages to make Nynaeve laugh in spite of her feels all about Lan, and then gives Lan dirty looks for being dumb.
Yeah. But Lan doesn't see Egwene's dirty looks because he is studiously ignoring both Nynaeve and the presence of the Seven Towers.
Yeah.
He's really having a bad morning.
Not his best, not at all. Rand makes a comment that all women are Aes Sedai. No, Rand. Women can't read minds. You're just obvious and easy to read.
Yeah, I could do without the trope that women are this unfathomable mystery that men can never figure out.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost 2019. Or actually, no, it is 2019 at this point.
Yeah.
Like, let's be done with that. Women are people, just like men. And while men and women have historically been raised with different expectations, and we therefore do react differently to things, if you take the time to think about it, those reactions are completely rational most of the time.
It's true.
All it takes is a little empathy, imagining people complexly, and giving them the benefit of the doubt. And then, boom, you too can understand the motivations of the opposite sex. Go figure. It's not that hard. You know?
True. The people who don't try are the ones that fail every time.
Yeah.
The moment between Egwene and Nynaeve, as Egwene realizes that Nynaeve can channel too, is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Egwene can now share this experience with Nynaeve in a way that she couldn't before, and she's really excited about it.
Yeah. The funny thing is, though, that I didn't realize until this time through that this is when Egwene
figures it
out. Like, I thought she figured it out before now because of all the clues that have been dropped.
Yeah, well, and, you know, Egwene's young and kind of self-absorbed at this point a little bit.
True.
So there have been a lot of clues for us, the readers.
Well,
definitely.
I mean, Moraine straight up tells us that Nynaeve can channel, so we know this. And I guess I forgot that no one else does.
Right, because Egwene wasn't there for that conversation. So
right,
yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that this is the moment that she figures it out. But yeah, it is cool.
Yeah.
She's very excited. Nynaeve less so.
So something that struck me, reading the description of the trees and the blight, I had a momentary flashback to Harry Potter and the Whomping Willow. Only this tree actually eats the things that it beats up.
Yeah, there's a little bit of difference there.
Just a little, yeah.
You know, what's a little viscera between friends? So I like the way that Jordan has Lan going off screen to kill the unseen monsters in the blight.
Yeah.
We get a description of the sounds of what is happening, but we don't actually see it. It's just, it's like a well-done horror movie. It's mostly left to our imagination to fill in the blanks, and I really like that style here. It just makes it super creepy.
Yeah, it's very effective. I like it.
Absolutely. I mean, it could easily be overdone, and he works it in very well without going too far and pushing it into a place where it's like cheesy. Like he handles it really well, and I like the effect.
Yeah. Again, with some great suspense. Like this chapter keeps you on the edge of your seat. Like our characters get great action moments. Like Matt being a crack shot with a bow and nailing a creature in the eye. Perrin has his axe out and is just kicking butt. Moraine is throwing fireballs while Rand is shouting Manetheren in his battle cry, and Matt's shouting in the old tongue as we're constantly being attacked again and again.
Yeah. There's this lovely line that says, Rand sought the void and found it in the stony, stubborn soil of the two rivers. So we've talked about how Rand does not actually have the blood of Manetheren, but I guess that doesn't matter. Blood or no blood, he was raised in the two rivers, and those are his people. And again, that two river stubbornness is a constant thorn in the Dark One's side. I also want to read this bit about Perrin because it's freaking awesome.
Okay.
Quote, Perrin also stood in his stirrups, silent and grim. He had taken the lead, and his axe hewed a path through forest and foul flesh alike, whichever came before him. Flailing trees and howling things shied from the stocky axeman, shying as much from his fierce golden eyes as from the whistling axe.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yes. I want to see this on screen.
Oh my gosh, yes. Absolutely. Like, that little bit right there reminds me of the ebook cover of... Is it Crossroads? No. Yeah, Crossroads of Twilight? Is it? No.
Oh, the one with Perrin with the flaming hammer?
Yeah. Oh, that's later. Is it?
That's later. I think that's actually the Towers of Midnight.
Towers of Midnight?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because he doesn't get his hammer until way later. But yeah, it's like, it's all fiery and he looks totally like the Wolf King, like he's ready to rip someone's throat out. He just looks amazing. That's what this passage reminded me of.
Yeah, young Wolf King in action.
Yeah, like he is a force to be reckoned with. So worms. I feel like worm wasn't the best choice for a big bad monster.
Okay.
The name doesn't quite strike the right amount of fear. I mean, even Matt is like, they're scared off by worms? Seriously? I mean, they could still be giant evil worms, but name them something else.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there's some history of science fiction and fantasy having worms being these really huge, big, powerful creatures, or not just the little tiny earthworms like we're used to seeing.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously it's like giant things crushing trees. Like, I get that they're huge monsters, but the name worm?
Yeah.
Like, name them something in the old tongue that means worm.
There's a reason that whole series of movies is called Tremors and not Worms.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, worm is striking fear into the heart of nobody. So Rand seeks the flame in the void, and the book says, quote, the void eluded him, forming then shivering into 1,000 points of light, reforming and shattering again, each point burning into his bones until he quivered with the pain and thought he must burst open. So this is Rand unknowingly trying to reach Sidin, but the power is slipping away from him. It's like trying and failing to channel. He just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, and it's that struggle of still trying to reach and grab, and it's slipping out of his hands.
Yeah, which we'll see again later, like once he actually realizes that he can channel and what he's doing. There'll be certain moments of the book where he tries to reach for the power and he can't get it. That's what's happening. He just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, I know I might be jumping the gun here a little bit, but it's interesting how Jordan kind of lays out the different times that Rand touches the source in this book. Because it's very... like, we only see it from Rand's perspective at this point, and the few times that we see like Maureen try to explain to Egwene how to touch the source. And they're very different. Like, we'll see that develop later books, but Rand is constantly struggling, grabbing, trying to get it in this. The power is always slipping out of his grasp until he learns how to wrestle it.
Yeah, like how it's describing shattering until he feels fit to burst from the pain of it.
Right.
Like, the women have a very, very, very different experience. Like, they also try and fail to get the power sometimes, but it just sort of slips through their fingers. Like, They can't grasp it, but it's not painful. Like, for the men, seizing Sidin is violent, and it's a fight. It's very, very different.
So I just find it it just struck me this time around that this is the description we get on Rand, where he's failing to reach the source, and that's the way it's going to be for men for the rest of the series. It's a constant battle to dominate the source and force it to your will.
Yeah.
In this moment of desperation, Rand calls out to the light, pleading for help, and it's all of their combined need that opens the path to the Green Man's home. And from this moment, we literally step into a new world. Like, the Green Man describes this place as being always where it is. All that changes is where those who need it are. Mm-hmm. So this place kind of exists outside of the rules of time and space.
Right.
And I'm not sure if it exists as like a part of the dream world or possibly just an alternative world of some sort. Like, we never come back to this place in the series, so it's hard to know for certain what this is.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about. Moraine keeps talking about need. Need is what makes you find the Green Man, and need is the reason that she was able to break the rules and get there twice.
Yeah.
And then later, we'll find out that need is also a major thing in the dream world.
Yep.
Great need allows you to find what you're searching for and directs your path when you're dreamwalking. So I'm wondering if there's a connection between the Green Man's place and the dream world. We know that there are things that exist, like dream spikes, that are designed to work with the dream world, but have an effect on the waking world.
Right.
So maybe the Aes Sedai who created the Eye of the World managed to hide it in the dream world somehow, but you can still access it when you're awake. I don't know. I just think it's interesting that great need is the key for both places.
Yeah, it is really cool. Like, Jordan links need in very interesting ways through the whole story. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it is part of the dream world. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. It feels like there's a connection, but I couldn't really figure out what that connection would be. So, you guys, if you have any ideas or just kind of want to talk about the theory of great need and a connection between the Green Man's place and the dream world, let us know.
Absolutely.
Tweet at us, email us. Like, this is an interesting subject, and I tried to look it up, but I couldn't really find anything talking about a connection. So let us know if you think we're crazy or if you think we're onto something.
So, now that we're in the Green Man's place, Perrin, buddy, get your head out of your butt. Like,
right?
The Green Man recognizes him as a wolf brother. Mm-hmm. And instead of trying to ask the Green Man what the heck a wolf brother is and what he knows about the change that's going on in his body, like, he withdraws from the conversation and gets more broody.
Yeah.
If anyone could give Perrin a heads up about what's going on, it's this man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, if he recognizes the wolf brother thing immediately, then he knows something about it. So instead of hiding behind his horse, Perrin should be like, hey, maybe we could, like, have a little talk about that.
Yeah.
What do you know about wolf brothers?
Right?
Help me out here, Green Man.
Yeah.
The Green Man says to Rand, strange clothes you wear, child of the dragon. Has the will turned so far? Did the people of the dragon return to the first covenant? But you wear a sword. That is neither now nor then. So it confuses the hell out of Rand, and the reader, for that matter.
Yeah.
But basically, he's yet another person calling Rand an Ailman. We don't know this yet, but the Ale are the people of the dragon, and Rand is definitely Ale.
Yes. Well, Moraine says, most of all is the world's need. We have come to see the eye of the world. The Green Man replies with, every turning of the years, the blight strives harder to come inside, and this turning, the struggle to keep it out, has been greater than ever, since the beginning. What I'm not clear on is what exactly he remembers. Like, is his memory of a previous time when the people came looking for the eye of the world? Or is he remembering a previous time when the need of the world was so great? Like, or maybe it's the same thing. I want to say that it's a time when the eye of the world was needed before, but I'm not sure. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I want to know what he means using the word beginning, because I thought there were no beginnings in the turning of the wheel. Isn't that how every single book in the series starts?
True.
I don't know. That stuck out to me. Like, what do you mean beginning? What
there
beginning?
Are no beginnings.
The beginning of what? But, okay, so when Rand goes through the glass columns in Rudian, he sees flashbacks of the Green Man before the War of Power and before the breaking.
Right.
Like, it's before he has the scar thing, and scar came because of the breaking.
Okay.
So it's believed that the Nim, which is what he is, can't die unless they're killed. So he's either referring to a past age in the turning of the wheel when the world already played out this cycle, or probably more likely, he's referring to when the Eye was created and he was first tasked to guard it.
Got it.
That would be my guess. Like, he's referring back to that point.
That would make sense.
I think so. Because this specific Green Man, Semestra, I think is his name, he specifically is the one that existed back then that Rand sees in the columns. Like, he's the same guy. And so he witnesses when he's being tasked to
guard the Eye of the World.
Yes. So.
Okay. Well, thanks for answering that.
You're welcome. I did research.
Yay! And that ends chapters 48 and 49 of The Eye of the World. Join us next week for chapters 50 and 51, where we come face to face with the Forsaken at the Eye.
We hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru.
We'll see you again next week. Make sure that you rate and subscribe to us on iTunes or Google Podcasts or anywhere you get your podcasts. Maybe leave us a positive review. It really helps us out. You can tweet us at whatpodthru or email us at whatpodthru@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on anything we covered today.
That's WOTPODTHRU@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody, and we hope the wheel weaves you in our direction again soon.